I have been working with the Committee of the Families of the Disappeared in Lebanon for many years, and not as a filmmaker, but from a political and personal engagement. And as a matter of fact, this provided me a lot of knowledge about this matter. There were unbelievable efforts that were deployed by the Lebanese state to erase the atrocities that the state, with all its militias, have perpetrated during the war. And that's what generated at a later stage the title Erased Ascent of the Invisible. So in 2007 I was walking in Beirut and I saw a poster, the one that I cut into pieces in the film. It was there on the wall, advertising an exhibition about the missing persons. I looked for a while at the hundreds of faces printed so small and packed one next to the other, deprived from any sense from being persons who have their own lives, their own stories, their own existences. Gathered all there only to promote an exhibition for an NGO. I got furious. So for 6 years I couldn't get this incident out of my mind. Until one morning in February 2013, I woke up with a lot of anger. I took a cutter and a mini DV camera and went searching for this poster. I wanted to dig it out again and try to find a way to ease my anger. And after a few days, I found the first face. As I said, I didn't have to go through research since I was very much loaded with all the information, and I was even writing my own thoughts and reflections since the year 2000. So it went like this, and this was for 6 years. I will come inside my studio with a very precise question, and I made inside the studio a very easy setup. So the camera was above my head, and I had a table, and I was alone, so I needed to be able to manipulate everything very easily. And there I would put the question on the table in front of the camera. So as when I turn the camera on, it generates directly a presence, the presence of a potential audience in the future. And there we would sit, the three elements, myself, the question, and the other notes and research and images, and the camera is on, and we will stay like this for months, and I will be manipulating the elements with a very specific intention, which is to be able to generate a possible narrative. It was not about the truth or about the rights, but about a political narrative that would be able to stand by itself and challenge the official narrative. Well, I will not be speaking of a technical challenge or any other type of physical challenge, but I would rather speak of a conceptual challenge that had remained during the whole 6 years of work. So I was constantly considering the type of relationship between the film, the viewer, and myself. So what would be the position of each of us and what type of relationship we can have? I wanted to establish an active relationship based on reflections that would possibly generate instantly active thoughts from the viewer instead of generating instant emotions. And I wanted for this no matter the time or the place where the viewer would be watching. So, for example, this is why I pushed at the beginning of the film the viewer to complete the missing or erased parts of the proposed image from his own library or his own memory or his own experience. I was also aware that the viewer would need some time to build relationship between his own thoughts. So I gave a space of time in many parts of the film so he can collect his ideas and chain them to each other. I made sure to present thoughts and not answers. I didn't want to be more knowledgeable or to have a position of someone who would tell the truth. The film was not about truth. And regarding the emotions, I had avoided the use of any musical background. I only used it in one place, because at that very specific moment I wanted to be manipulative. And I will give one last example. It's related to the animation. So it's at the moment where the magic of animation starts to build up and we feel like we're entering this universe. I break it directly and I show the drawing and the drawing tools on the table. I wished for the viewer to complete the film on his own, by himself, and possibly become part of it, by giving him the space to inject his own experience, his own images, his own sounds. At the end, all I wanted was for the viewer to come out with something of his own after watching the film. And surely I wanted him to be responsible of his own emotions. Well, I didn't look at the families of the disappeared as a specific audience, and this film didn't present the voice of the families. So regarding the general audience, I will speak of the general audience in Lebanon and not elsewhere. So my aim was to address mainly the young generations that are living in Lebanon and reflect with them about what shall we do about our legacy. I mean the lands. The common reaction can be summarized with a sentence that someone formulated. He said, "I came into the theater from a city, but now when I will go out, it's not anymore the same city." So this change for many happened inside the theater. They couldn't see Beirut the same.